If you have some fine weight yarn in your stash and you're not quite sure what to do with it, this is a great little project for you to dive into. This top is perfect for cotton or acrylic yarns to create a light and comfy spring or summer top that pairs perfectly with jeans or shorts. The step-by-step tutorial is coming up. So I'm going to work with a little swatch here at first to demonstrate the stitch pattern, but I'll jump into the full project later. Go ahead and make your slip knot and start chaining. So this pattern is available in sizes extra small to 5XL, and the number of chains you'll need, as you can guess, is a little different for each size, so you'll want to refer to the pattern for that specific number. When you have all of your chains, find the second chain from the hook. I like to flip it and work in the back bump of the chain. It's just a little bit neater for me. And half double crochet in that second chain. Then keep going with one half double crochet in each remaining chain. Now, if you're wondering, or if you have any questions about the supplies and of course the pattern, well, you can view it for free on my website, or if you prefer to have a copy in hand to print or save for later, you can download the PDF from my shop. I'll have a link in the description below for both options, so you can do what works best for you. Alright, when you finish the first row, chain one and turn your work. This is a little less traditional. We won't count this chain one as a stitch, so work your first half double crochet in the first stitch here. Now this will give us a much cleaner looking edge to the body panels. Then continue with a half double crochet in each stitch. And believe it or not, that's the repeat for the majority of this pattern. Super simple, just half double crochet rows. Now, as you're working through this first section of your first panel, you'll want to refer to the pattern to see how long this section should be. It's a little bit different for each size. When you get that finished, it'll look something like this. Next, we have that little window, that peekaboo section, and the repeat there is pretty simple too. Go ahead and chain one and turn and half double crochet in the first stitch as usual. And here's the new repeat. Chain one, skip a stitch, and half double crochet in the next. Then repeat that to the last two stitches. And chain one, skip one, and half double crochet in the last. Chain one and turn. Now the repeat for this row and the subsequent rows in this little section is the same. You'll half double crochet in the first stitch, chain one, skip the chain one space, then half double crochet in the next. Once again, refer to the pattern to see how many times you should repeat this for the size you're making. Now don't worry if it pulls in a little bit when you're finished, that's completely normal. Now moving on to sort of our third section in the panel, chain one and turn your work, and we're back to our simple half double crochet rows, but this first one looks and feels a little different because we have those chain one spaces. So first step, make a half double crochet in your first stitch and half double crochet in the chain one space. I'm not actually putting my hook through the chain, just working it into the space. And that's the repeat for this row. Then for the next row, you'll work the same half double crochet in every stitch that you did in that first big section of the panel. Now this is sort of the last section of the panel, and you'll repeat this pattern until your panel measures the right length for the size you're making. As always, you'll find those details in the pattern. When you're done, fasten off and make a second panel. The front and the back are actually identical. Now one little tip here is to save yourself an end to weave in, and don't actually fasten off at the end of your second panel. You can go ahead and align the two together, the two panels together, and jump right into the shoulder seam from there. So I tend to avoid using a needle and thread whenever I can, and I like to crochet my seams because it's a lot easier for me and it always turns out better. So I'm opting to slip stitch my seams in this project, but you can sew them together if that's what you prefer. So as you probably guessed, the length of the shoulder seams are a little different for each size, so go ahead and refer to the pattern for that information, and of course, repeat for the second shoulder seam. Then all that's left to do is seam the sides, only this time you'll be working in the side of rows rather than stitches. But because we did our beginning and end sort of a little different than the traditional 2-chain half double crochet rows, it's a little bit easier and a lot neater. Just try to keep your placement consistent and it'll turn out great. You'll also want to check step 2 of the assembly in the pattern for the armhole depth. You'll want to keep seaming up to this point and fasten off when you get there so the armhole is as big as you need it for the size you're making. Last but not least, you'll weave in your ends. That's all for now, friend. Don't forget to check the description for a link to the pattern, and if you have any questions about the supplies I used, you'll find all the details there. And of course, thank you so much for watching. Your support, watching, liking, commenting on my tutorials, checking out the patterns on the website, and buying the PDFs from my shop is a huge help, and there's just no way I could keep doing what I'm doing without it. Happy hooking, and I'll see you in the next one.